Welcome to Ask a Therapist. My name is Lila Galustian. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist and the owner of Rediscovering You. You know me as Lily. I go by Lily sometimes. And you, please introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Ricky Crosby. I'm a 60-plus-year-old man. I am retired now, but before I've worked several jobs at several great companies here in Los Angeles. I'm born and raised here. As they say, I'm a real homeboy. From East LA, Roosevelt High School. Let's go Riders.
Yes.
That's right. Class of 78.
Damn.
But I know. But it's the ride, Lily, has been great.
Yeah.
You know, ups, downs, in-betweens. It's all been good. I'm standing strong. So, here we are.
You know, I'm born and raised in LA too. I'm from the Valley.
Valley girl.
I'm from Glendale.
Okay.
And I went to Rebay Academy. So we used to compete against Roosevelt for basketball.
Right,
Sometimes the summer leagues.
Rebay. Oh, my goodness. I told you before, I had a friend of mine, a legendary friend from Rebay. And you know him.
I do.
Yeah. Coach Sid was something else. But, you know, the program there was tremendous. That's one thing that's kept me sharp is my ability to keep up with sports, keep up with what's going on today.
Yeah.
From high school all the way to pros. And that's something I still take pride in. So
sports is so great for psychology,
Oh,
for mental health.
please. I mean, some things in my life when I'm going through them, to be able to sit down and watch an event or just focus on that event, it can take you away from some of the stuff that you might be thinking of.
Yeah,
You
totally.
know, so yeah, I guess it is a form of therapy, huh?
Well, in so many ways, what I always explain to parents that come into the office, and they're like, I don't know what hobby to put my children in or what after classes. I'm always like, listen, first of all, it all depends person to person, right? Like
Okay.
you might have a kid that's very artistic and very into art and likes to go that direction. And I always say one thing that each thing knows, like sports specifically, it teaches you how to fail.
Absolutely.
Right? Which is something that as a human, you need to learn.
I think so.
It's something that you can't be afraid of.
Absolutely.
Right? You can be disappointed.
Sure.
You're going to be angry.
Yep.
Like you're going to have reactions. There's so many times when I failed at playing, like at winning or failed at what I had to do. I got 3 technicals, Rick.
Oh.
3 technicals. I was already out the gym on my last one. My brother had to open the door and be like, I'm going to need you to calm down.
Lily, Dr. Lily getting 3 T's. Listen, okay, but I'm not trying to discount the 3 T's, but my record is way better. I had 28.
28?
In one game.
How?
I was a youngster with a temper, out of control, once again, out of control, not being able to control my emotions. And I did not know how to accept losing.
Yes.
Even though I was old enough to know the spirit of what I was doing, it just wasn't right at the time.
Yeah.
And Mr. Birch, rest in peace. Mr. Birch, this guy is a legend in East Los Angeles. We tried to get a trophy, what is it called? A statue of him, honoring him from the Unified School District, but we weren't able to get enough people involved, and they didn't want to, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, this guy, we had a little basketball league in the summer where I grew up at, and it was a great league for certain ages. Then you have for adults and so on and so forth. And he ran this. So one day these guys kept filing me, Doc, and filing me. And all of a sudden, I just lost it because I went to him and I said, "You're not going to call a foul?" And he looked at me and said, "Boy, go ahead and play basketball." And instead of me just saying, "Boy, go ahead and I takes the ball and kicks it over the fence and said, "Go find it." And Mr. Birch looked at me and said,
"Oh, hell
okay."
no.
He just put his hand up and I saw a T. like a machine, a sewing machine. And when he was finished, it was 28, Lily.
Damn.
Yeah, so I mean, now that's mine.
Damn.
And
but that's kind of why I say we, like, especially in sports, as kids, we're going to lose control of our emotions.
Yeah.
Right? It's part of the growing up,
right,
part of the development.
Right.
And like I had a temper. When you are an athlete or when you're competitive or when you're motivated or when you're like, I want this.
Right.
Emotions go up.
They do.
Right?
They truly
and
do.
That's what motivates the body to keep going and to compete and to like win. And it's all like the thought process matters too.
Right.
So when someone blocks the goal, your internal goal, you're gonna get angry. Now, whether you can understand logic in that moment or not, you're going to get angry. And that anger, you're going to be embarrassed about it.
Absolutely.
Later.
Oh, my goodness.
All of that needs to exist for a person as an adult now. Know how to regulate that hunger.
Okay.
How to regulate the frustrations. How to be able to say, okay, I lost. It sucks.
Right.
I feel like shit. Sorry for the language. But you know what?
Acceptance.
We keep moving forward. And all of these things, because in life you're going to, if you're 13, your 13-year-old self, if you were to look back and have a conversation with your 13-year-old self, what would you say?
I'd say, boy, slow down. Slow down, man. You trying to do everything. Concentrate on one thing and be real good at it. And then everything else will fall in place. But instead, I went the other way. And I believe that I did it because I just think that my mind is one that just operates at such a rapid pace.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing sometimes because it's a survival skill that'll beat others people's skill because you see things before they do. And so I look at it in that way. But then in the other aspect of it, sometimes it puts me in an impatient situation because I'm like, come on, this should be flowing better than this.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, that was my approach at my last few jobs because I'm saying, hey, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that we're here, you've been here 20 years, you've been here so on, you know, all these different numbers, but yet and still you don't know what you're doing?
Yeah.
And I've been here 2 years. And my sense was that if I'm going to walk into this position, you better know it, Rick. So it always kind of made me feel like that was my defense, was my offense.
Yeah.
In other words, I know it.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times people they didn't understand it because they're like, hey man, you slow down. No, well, I want to be comfortable. And comfortable is knowing what I have to do when I'm coming in here on your clock. So,
see, that's a lot of pressure though.
It is a lot of pressure. It is, no doubt.
Which I'm not going to say I don't understand because I'm just like you. Right? Like my mind moves very fast. Okay. I have a very hyper mind.
Okay.
And this is one of the things like in DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, we have this thing where we say and instead of but to allow two truths to exist. Okay. Right? So like yes, my hyper mind is like very it works for me. It's one of the reasons like I'm so good at competition. I'm so good at discipline. I'm so good like at all of these things that I can say the pros of my hyper mind and in time as a kid learning how to regulate, how to like manage my mind, how to enjoy my conversations with myself rather than having them be so painful within me, right? And I'm very impatient. And I have high expectations. Okay. And I have those high expectations of myself, which means if I have those high expectations of myself, and as a clinician in the room, it's so interesting because I even say it to my patients all the time. I'm like, listen, I expect for you to put in the work.
Okay.
And if you are having a hard time with that expectation, because that expectation is overwhelming for so many people that don't have my mindset, that didn't grow up in my body, don't have the experiences, the athletic mind, all the things that I did to like learn how to have this expectation of myself and how to push myself forward. For them, it's very, I don't know how to do that. Right? You're asking for too much. You're expecting for too much. And it's that's the thing where I started realizing it's pressure, but I'm used to it.
And that's it. See, when you get used to that type of stuff, but let me ask you this. In what you just said now, what about when you're in a situation where you say you're impatient in certain situations, but what about if you're in a situation where you have to go in and do a project and the people that you're working with, they may not be keeping up with your pace. So now, at that point, what do? Do you slow yourself down, or do you understand that you are pushing your pace maybe a little bit too fast?
Both.
So it's a both thing.
It's a both thing. So this is the thing that in my belief system of how we as humans have to exist, is you always have to work on yourself. Right?
That's
you have to watch, you have to be, whatever room you're in. You kind of have to, you can be yourself, and you have to observe the people around you to adapt and adjust and find that middle path.
Sure.
Right? So in a moment where I'm in a project, and it's happened to me, like when I was a clinical director, so many people would get frustrated with my like, let's go, let's do this. Where they were like, I'm a little slower pace than you on this project, and I'm not gonna like, you're already in tomorrow. I'm like, I'm barely getting to an hour from now.
I'm on lunch period. You're over here tomorrow. Okay, I got you.
So in those moments, it's first you have to realize and you have to notice within yourself. It's a lot of mindfulness. It's observing and noticing like, all right, I know this like this fire feeling that comes inside of me where my heart rate starts going up and this part of my face starts getting excited and I start getting like, let's go in my mind. Okay, that gets pretty intense pretty quickly for other people. If you were working independently on this project, great. And you're not working independently on this project. So what I can do is I can regulate myself. And I can kind of bring that intensity down in my own body. And I can motivate. And I can be of like, okay, so where do you want to start? Let's get this going. And you start bringing in the other person rather than having them.
Feeling standoffish. Okay. But you hit on another key word you said about motivation. See, I'm going to tell you something about me. As I was growing up, I used to be with a crew of guys that were so creative as young men growing up in the projects in East Los Angeles. We weren't like bad guys. No. There are a set of bad guys. Believe
everywhere,
me.
Yes, I believe you.
But we were more, if you remember the show What's Happening with Roger and them, see, that's how we were when I was growing up. Because we were all about the parties. We were all about the dances. We were all about the fashion, creating the look, the hair,
the style.
All this. This is what my crew was about. And so all the girls kind of liked us because they knew we was about that party thing, that good thing. But then again, they also liked the thugs. And that blew me away as I was going like, wow, this pretty girl like this old thug. But as I went on in life, I kind of understand the bad. Okay, some women like the bad boys. And that's okay. That's fine. But
not for their self-esteem, and we understand why they like it.
Sure. I mean, and in the end, I mean, I don't know one that can say that it's been a fantastic ride, honestly. Because to have to be involved in that kind of world, it has to be traumatizing.
Well, it's two unhealthy people.
Is that what that? Yes, yeah.
It really is, and if it hurts anyone's feelings, I'm not going to apologize for what is a fact. It's two unhealthy people, right? And it's no one's fault It is and it isn't. Those two truths exist.
Okay.
It is your fault for being unhealthy because at some point in your life, you start knowing, like, what's healthy and what's unhealthy. At some point, you grow into understanding. Prior to that, though, you grow up in it. So you're used to it.
Okay.
Right? Like, I grew up in a household where anger was a thing.
Okay.
For a while, it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not afraid of that emotion. I'm not afraid of, and it's not a healthy emotion, right?
Okay.
It's not an
Right.
emotion that you want to grow up in as a child. It's not like the best way that if someone's talking to you and they want to express something and the other person doesn't like it, anger comes. It's not healthy.
No.
Right? And there was a very long time where I kind of went with that unhealthy pattern because I was used to it. I grew up in it. And then at some point, I started seeing how it's affecting my social
Okay.
and how it's affecting the way I'm interacting with people at work, the way I'm being perceived, the way I'm being talked about, the way I'm being seen. And that's the moment where I was like, just because they do it and just because I grew up in it.
Right.
Does not make it okay.
No.
So I got to go work on how to control it
Okay.
and how to navigate it because it's not healthy and it's not a healthy part of me.
And change the narrative for your future.
Yes.
And that's a trip because I know for myself, that's kind of the way I was in my household. Although we didn't have, I have 3 sisters, and one passed away, my middle sister Annette, who I love so much. She is my confidant. But her, and then I have an older sister, Rhonda, and a little baby sister, Zena. So I got 3 girls in my life, 3 women in my life. And so I learned a lot from my older sisters as far as me handling women and dealing with girls and dealing with that type of thing and the patience and the courtesy in which I have to show to show that a girl that I care about her.
Yes.
Okay. And so I learned those techniques and I used all that stuff as I went on in life. And Doc, I've been married twice. Okay.
Yeah.
And so in my first one, I got a beautiful son out of it. And unfortunately, we lost our son at 31. But, that ride or that adventure with my ex-wife, it was cool for a while. I don't knock it. But then when it got sour, it got sour. So that's how things are. But how did I deal with it? See, I don't think that I looked at her and looked at the bad things in her. I looked at her and looked at the good things in it. And I said to myself, well, hey, you're attentive to our son. You take care of this. You make sure he's educated, he's clothed. These are the points I had to go on the board and check all these points off to say, hey, man, you got to give her some gratitude about what the hell she's doing.
Yeah.
And so even though I was pissed off that this thing ended, because we built up from a little 1-bedroom apartment to a beautiful townhouse in Pasadena.
Aww.
And she still has it. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's all, like I tell. But in the second one, I just think that, I don't know, man. It's so weird when I look back because at the time I was looking for somebody that was very humble, very earthy. So in other words, a woman who doesn't put on a lot of makeup, have to do a lot, keep life kind of simple for herself.
Yeah.
Could put a baseball cap on and hey, man, we can roll.
Yeah.
Well, me and this particular woman, we had a really good bond in this area because you got to find out what bonds you have. And you must, and this is me on the outside now, looking in, saying to someone who's planning on getting married, you have to find it important that whatever you and your wife have, and you guys, that's y'all thing, you make sure you stay that as y'all thing. Because see, nobody can take that from you.
No.
But when you give that up, y'all thing, hey man, you just wandering.
Yeah.
Because, honestly, because I don't think you're going to meet no one to love you that same way. But maybe you don't want that. And see, I had to come to those terms.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want that.
The love?
That love. Some people don't want it.
I think it's interesting. It's interesting that you bring that up. Love is an emotion naturally every animal needs.
Okay.
Every animal. That's why, like, upon birth, and it's whether it's human and any animal you kind of look at, some animals actually are very cold. So maybe not every, Might be an overgeneralization. Most warm-blooded animals need that love upon birth.
Okay.
Right? So love is something that we kind of all, in a sense, need. The issue is with our history and how love was shown to us.
Okay.
And then how, and all of these kind of like, if we look at a human and its development, it's like first love is when you're born and how that's shown to you. Second love is when like your hormones and your sexual hormones start kicking in, and now you're connecting love to sex, and that starts kicking in for you. And then you have like your first serious relationship and how that dynamic is. And now so all of these things, by the time you become an adult, you have so many experiences of love in your brain.
Right.
And most of them did not go well.
Most
of them went with hurt. So by a certain age, it's like we're afraid of that emotion.
Oh boy.
And it's fairly natural, in my opinion. I can't say 100%, but from the amount of times I've talked to people, strangers on the street, or even in my office, people are so afraid of that, me, myself included. People are afraid of that emotion.
But, Doc, here's my question on that, because I think about that one sometime. And I say that if you true to yourself, honestly, and you're the type of person that knows when I'm looking in your eyes and whoever it is that I'm in a relationship, and I know, see, because I pay attention to people while I'm in a relationship.
Yes.
I don't neglect you.
Yeah.
I think about you all the time. I think about what makes you happy, what makes you angry, all those things. If I'm truly in a relationship with you, I know you.
Yeah.
Okay? And here's the thing about it, and I hate to go back into my wife, in my marriage, my second marriage. That's something that I told my wife. I said, you don't know me. I said, after 14 years in this journey, you don't know me. And the reason I said that is because of this. See, the nurturing ability of your mom, your sisters, all this kind of stuff. See, I've had that.
Yeah.
So now if my woman knows me, she's going to sit up there and say, Rick, I'm going to have this talk with you, baby. And she's going to look me in the eyes and she's going to tell me how she's feeling. So now she knows that, and she's saying this to me so we can be on the same level, same page, same level, all this. She's saying that to me. And a lot of people, see, that's why, I don't know, sometimes I sit alone because I'm saying, I'm not getting that from nobody. I'm not feeling that from nobody because I feel like in today's time, everybody's like in the rat race. They running. They on this 24-hour-a-day clock. Ain't nobody people don't have no time to just sit there and relax and say, hey, man, I want to get to know you.
They got to make time.
And see, that's the thing about it. They scared. To me, it's a thing where we're so adjust. And I'm glad I pulled out of this when I did. Because now people are so into this 24-hour thing that mankind has stole that from them. And they don't even know it. Like a thief in the night. That's been stolen from people. And see, they don't want to sit there and slow their butt down, take their foot off the gas and say, let me command my own life.
See, and I think that's the piece where I look at all the relationships in my life, all the people my closest people in all the relationships in my life. And there's so many things and prior to meeting my own husband, like I had gone to a point where I was like, I'm okay with being single. I'm okay with being the person that's going to stay single. I'm okay with not having children.
Okay.
I've accepted that because in my mind, I was like, I want children. I wanted children with my husband. I want a partner in raising my children. I want the children that I want a whole family system. Okay. Right? So watching all the people around me, I was like, you know what? And then also my experiences with people, which none of the guys I've ever dated, all of them have been good men.
Okay.
Right? They've had good inside of them. And unhealthy. Unable to understand how to take a look at themselves.
Okay.
And I see it not just in men. I see it in women.
Sure.
I see it in more people. They come into a relationship thinking that this relationship is just going to give me a person to have for the rest of my life.
Like this is a gift, a magic gift or something, without me having to work at all.
Instead of understanding a relationship, first of all, the person that you're with, one, they're your best friend.
Okay.
Right? There's in the beginning, there's the sexuality, there's the fire, there's the fun stuff, there's the flirting, there's all of these things. By the time you get to a point where you decide you want to spend the rest of your life together, you want to get married, they're your best friend.
Right.
Which, going back to the thing that you said, if you have something that you do together, you stick to doing that together, because that's what keeps you best friends.
That's right.
And without that best friend, you're not going to feel comfortable for the next phase.
No, you're not.
Which the next phase
You're not.
is, now you're in a relationship, that person is going to trigger your deepest, darkest insecurities.
Okay.
They're going to bring it all out, because all the ways that someone broke up with you, it's going to trigger memories. All the ways that someone treated you and you didn't stand up for yourself, it's going to trigger that. All the ways your mom or dad treated you, all the ways you grew up in your sibling, in your household, all of the unhealthy is now brewing.
Festering.
Right?
Festering, yeah.
Now it's coming out. And you're going to have this in every phase of that relationship. Every phase of you growing up, something is going to happen that's going to, and you have to feel safe enough in this friendship to be able to sit down and have a conversation and trust that the person sitting in front of you isn't going to judge you, isn't going to leave you.
Right.
If the
That's it. No, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No, go
I don't mean
ahead.
to cut you off, but you said that key word is leave you. See, I never had that fear of that.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I feel like I'm as honest as it's going to be. Now, if you decide to leave me, this is based upon your decision, not Ricky sending you away. But here's a sad, tragic part of my life, and I look at it now when I sit alone, is the fact that, damn, how did all these relationships end? And Dr. Lily, I'm serious. I'm sitting here saying to myself, what happened to me and my ex? What happened to me and this girl? What happened to me and this lady? And really, I look at it, it's sad, because I say, man, all these, it's like a TV show. The end.
Yeah.
And then you look, and the next thing you know, it's off the air.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there finding myself alone, and I'm like, damn, I invested all this time in this relationship, and this is the way it ends. So it got me to the point where I was kind of skittish, and I'm still skittish. I'm still kind of like, because see, I look at a woman now and I'm like, man, can I really trust you? Do you have the fortitude to be in a serious relationship when the chips are down?
So here's my question for you. Do you have the fortitude to be in a serious relationship when the chips are down?
To be honest with you,
Yes.
that's a two-part answer for me.
Yes.
The first part is, I must answer that by saying, yes, I do have the fortitude.
Good.
The second part of that, I'm going to answer, how much time? You dig? Because see, people don't realize your time is super valuable.
Yeah.
And people don't, they don't think of that, man. That's your commodity. Okay, is your time. And this is one of the things that why I sit alone with anything I do. Even if I go and do a project for someone, do a business deal with someone, I let them know my time is super important. I'm 60 plus. It's important. Now, if you want to get with me and we're going to do this thing, let's do it. Like you said earlier, let's do this thing. And that's the way I am. But if you're balking and you're playing around, like I have to remind a friend of mine, I say, dude, when I come over here and you telling me you be here by 1 o'clock, but we don't start work until 3:30, that ain't good.
Yeah.
That's not good at all.
No.
And now you're playing with my time. And so the same thing in a relationship. I'm not going to play with my woman's time. If I have a woman that has her own business, see, I'm going to be an advocate for her.
Yeah.
I'm going to be I'm gonna be 100 pushing it.
Love
okay?
that.
And that's the kind of guy I am, because I don't have no fear of my woman being successful and me not being as successful as her. But knowing that we have a bond somewhere that nobody else has. And that's the level, doctor, that I'm trying to get to. Again.
So here's my question. Which one's more important? Is your time more important, or your sanity and your psychology?
No, boy, that's another one. I'm gonna say my sanity.
So in a relationship, that's what you want. Like, we intentionally have to bring certain things to our focus, right?
Okay.
That's the work a lot of times.
Okay.
Because for me, like, one of the things that I say in my relationship with Adriel is, I would always tell him, I don't need you. I don't need you. I want you. I want you in my life, and I don't want anybody else in my life, but I don't need you in my life. And that statement, although very logical and very factual, came from a lot of my traumatic experiences as a kid, right? Like watching my mom feeling like she needed my dad, although like there was a lot of love and other things in there, but like from the outside looking in, I'm like, why do you need him? Why do you need him? He's an angry man. Why do you need him? You don't need him. Right?
See, you peeped that early, didn't you?
I peeped that, but and again, I was always an observing kid. I would like.
That's me, Lily.
Yeah.
We only say, oh boy, go ahead.
So I would say that in the beginning, he was like, you know what? I like that. I like that you don't need me, because he had the same thing. His fear was like, I don't want to need you in my life.
Okay.
Now that we're in it, and I'm a lot more in the relationship, and now I actually feel what the marriage is like and what the relationship is like. It's more, I have to remind myself often, I want him and I love him and I do need him, and I'm okay with starting to express that.
Okay.
And X, Y, and Z are the reasons, and mainly it's because he helps my sanity.
Okay.
At the end of the day, he's
your balancer.
He's my balancer. Now, sometimes he triggers my insanity.
Okay.
Right? Which I also don't mind that, because I, at the end of the day, have to always work on myself.
Okay.
And if this relationship doesn't last, which we've had many conversations around it, because you never know. You really don't know.
No.
We grow. We
right.
change. Our happiness changes. Right? And if I'm no longer happy and feeling sane in my relationship, I am going to walk out.
Okay.
I am that person.
Okay.
I will leave. Do I want to leave? Most probably not.
Right.
But if I'm not happy and my sanity is starting to be affected, I am going to leave.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, my sanity is what's important to me. And if you're creating insanity for me and I'm not able to regulate my insanity because you keep causing insanity, then that's a relationship I'm going to walk away from.
Okay.
But if you're causing glimpses of insanity, like my past triggers, and I'm working on it and I'm regulating, and I come back to this friendship and I come back to this relationship and I come back to this safety, then I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
And I think that's the piece of relationship that a lot of people have forgotten, is that the person standing in front of you, they're meant to help you be a better version of yourself.
Right. That's what they're supposed to.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And they are going to, and our brain is the smartest and dumbest organ.
But you also have to give room to let that person do that for you. Okay.
You have to trust.
And that's right. And you have to. So with me in my former relationship, I looked at that and I said, wait a minute, how in the world can I feel like you trust me, basically, because I didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
You know, and I started to watch, and then I started to hear, because see, I just happened to know a lot of people.
Yeah.
At this time, I lived in Pasadena, knew a lot of people, and someone came to me one day and said something to me, and this is a person who knew my wife. They know of her, and they're much older, but they said something to me, right? And he told me, he said, hey, man, your wife is saying something about you, and she's expressing it to me. And he said, Rick, I'm just going to let you understand. I told her, don't ever do that because you make yourself vulnerable while you're opening your information up. Why don't you tell your husband this?
Yeah.
You understand? And see, that's the type of stuff that I know when I'm in a marriage with someone. See, I understand the business of being an adult. That's the business of being an adult. When you can go in a room and you can sit there and talk to your mate and give them a clear understanding without it being you holding on to this anger and you're pissed off.
Well, that's where you gave me a book called The Complaint-Free World. Yeah. Right?
Yep.
Love the concept of the book, right? And it kind of ties into this where it's when a person is used to judging, gossiping, complaining, and assuming, even the most precious people in their lives, they're going to impulsively judge them, gossip about them. All of the complain about them, make assumptions about them, which is the most unhealthy habit that most cultures and most people keep engaging in over and over and over and keep justifying it within themselves because they don't want to actually face how, one, ugly of a behavior it is, two, how much it affects not only the people that you love, but also strangers and your ability to connect with a stranger. Right? Yeah. And gossiping is like, and complaining, it's like you want to release and you want someone to validate how shitty your life is or how this person is annoying you or how that person is doing this. Take a second and look at how you're making your perception of the world with all these complaints.
Right. And it's really to me when I see it. See, because I try my best. The longer this journey is, I just try my best to enhance the room. Yeah. In other words, I want to be around and bring a sense of joy for the moment. Because see, people don't really understand the fact of the matter is, unless you're in prison. See, you're going to sit when you're in prison. Yeah. But as long as you have freedom, it's called moments. So if I see you in passing and I see you got a beautiful sweater on, I'm like, girl, you dressing, ooh, that looks nice. Why not do that?
Why not?
And see, people get caught up in, ooh, well, I don't want to offend and all. Listen, you reach a point in life where you know when you're offending someone. Yes. So all this old stuff, and like I said with people, that's why we got this a lot of this isms going on. Because see, people don't want to come to terms with, you have to grow up at a certain point. Yeah. And so, and growing up.
You have to change.
And you have to change. And in growing up, some of the things you have to grow up is you have to understand that, hey, man, this is not a one-trick pony. There's so much variety. That's why 31 got flavors. 30, I just made that up, baby. I made that up.
I love
31 got flavors. Hey, don't steal that, man.
All yours. It's publicly known. It's all yours.
But yeah, it's just that variety, man, that we get.
It's the issue is the wanting and the ability to change. Okay. That's the issue within humanity, where it's so changing yourself and changing a behavior. Let's even say like a behavior like gossiping. It's especially if it's not a behavior that you can like tangibly say, like drugs and addiction. You can actually say like it affects you and you can see it. Okay. Talking words, they like it, how does that affect me? And then yet the other irony of all of this is that if you go on social media and TikTok and all these places, they're like manifest and the things you say matter and the way you speak matters and all of this matters, right? And those same exact people go gossip.
Go listen, spill it like water.
Right? And for me, I'm like, they're not wrong. Everything you say matters because your brain is the smartest and dumbest organ. And information goes in with 5 senses, which means when you're talking, you're still listening and that information is still going in. And your brain, so smart, it'll do everything you want it to do for you, right? You tell it, I want $1 million. it'll somehow, it might take 10 years.
Right.
It might take 15 years.
Right.
It might take 2 months. It depends on what type of morally person your brain thinks you are, right?
Okay.
But it'll get it done for you.
Right.
It'll make it happen. So you're not wrong when you say manifesting is true.
Mm-hmm.
It is true. And also what you say also has its effects. And there's a second aspect of that where what you say, you want to call it energy, but the reality is it's another person hearing you, and that's going to travel.
Travel like the wind.
And it travels like the wind. And what you say a lot of times is it's coming from your brain, which means it's the perception of yourself. But you're saying it and putting it on another person,
right,
because you're so used to that behavior. And what you have to do is you have to learn how to stop. If you think it inside, nobody knows.
Right, sure.
I don't care what's happening inside your mind.
Well, it's funny you say it that way, because I'm gonna go on a religious level, okay? And this is what I was told. And when this was explained to me, I said, things that make you go,
Mm-hmm.
And this was one of those things, and it was you can say something, and you say it where people hear it. But it's even worse when you say it internally, because he's hearing you. Okay, and see, now you might think you getting away with something, but he's hearing you. He knows your actions before you know it. And I don't want to go all spiritual and all that sort of stuff, but these are all the dynamics that you have to use in life, even with therapy. Because
Yes.
I believe in that.
Yes.
But because you have to be able to voice yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
And I really believe it. And we talked about this before, Doc, and I told you about this sense of loneliness.
Yeah.
I mean, we got an epidemic of that. They talk about COVID. They talk about the flu. Hey, man, we got an epidemic of loneliness. But see, adults don't want to really admit it. Guys don't want to admit it. Women don't want to admit it. But then as time goes on, because I'm one that I go out and I really invest my time in people sometime, just to know what's happening, how they feeling. And one thing I noticed that, women, you guys can look so beautiful and boom, boom, boom. But then on the flip side of that, there's a bunch of lonely women.
Yeah.
They're lonely because the wreckage of their past. They're lonely because of that. Far as men are concerned, see, they're lonely, and it's a different thing. They're lonely because maybe the look of their face. You dig? And instead of even the person giving you a chance, they looking at you and say, oh, he ugly. I don't want to talk to him. And it's pitiful that people live like that, but that's the truth. Yeah. And I'm 60, and I know it's the truth.
Yeah.
Now, here's that other thing. The love for money.
Yes.
When we have a whole group of people who that's all they'll do.
Yeah.
Is if the money's right, the relationship could be right. It could be. But I always say to myself, would I ever want a woman like that, even if I had a whole bunch of money? That is absolutely a no, okay? Because I just think about it. I'm like, man, when the money run out, she gone.
Yeah.
And it's pitiful that people live their life based upon the financial abilities.
Well, it's unfortunate because we live in a world where people are raising different types of people. Like personality disorders and how you're raising a child, in what family system that child is being raised in. We have so many unhealthy people. We look around. I might unfortunately say this every podcast. Our country's being run by an unhealthy human being.
Oh, absolutely.
Which that person is the image of our country, right? And we have to radically accept. We have to accept that is what people looked up to.
Wow.
A person that is so unhealthy and has no impulse control.
None.
Right? And it's not just our country. There are so many countries that look up to people that are just the concept of power and being able to be rich and
Right.
money, right?
Right.
Doesn't matter whether you're intelligent, doesn't matter about your morals and your value system and how you treat other people. No. As long as I have a roof over my head and I'm driving my Lamborghini or my Mercedes or whatever it might be, and the other person that can't afford it, it's their fault.
Okay.
It's their fault that they can't do it. It's
Right.
their fault. It's nobody else's fault but their own.
Right.
Where it's actually like, no, you've created a society with a lot of problems.
Man.
You've created a society with a lot of blockages for so many people.
Right.
And you've intentionally done that.
Sure.
We can't. That's the reality. And yet, even all of those people are still admiring the person that's screwing them over.
That is amazing to me. How and see that once again is that therapy part come in where we have a lot of people like you said. See, it's a what is that word? When you self-defeat yourself, you know, it's like a lot of people in this country feel so bad about themselves that they look toward, I guess, the evil empire as the answer to whatever they're feeling.
Yeah.
And see, and that's what it is. It's a feeling.
Yeah.
And feelings are so temporary. And then all of a sudden you realize, man, I done allowed this monster in here. And so now I want to change it, but the change is going to come. I mean, I don't know when it's going to come, but, you know, it's just, I don't know. That's why I just say, Doc, right now in my life, the safest place for me to be is with me.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's why there's a loneliness epidemic. And that's where there really is a loneliness epidemic.
I believe it.
There really is. And the amount of times that any age that comes into my office, and for me, I'm like an adolescent who has a social group system and who's going out still feels lonely.
Absolutely, please.
Right? And it's because you're walking on eggshells every day in this. I will speak for not just our country. I will speak for LA.
Okay.
Right? Because that's where I live. That's where I grew up. And I can like compare me growing up as a kid and how I grew up versus how it is now. Very different.
Totally different.
Very different. I grew up being able to play on the streets.
We did.
Where now there's a feeling of fear they've induced in people,
Absolutely.
which everything that is based off of fear, emotions are not facts.
Not facts.
And yes, there's unhealthy people out there. Yes, bad things have happened. Yes, we're not taking away from two truths that exist, right? Even when I was a kid, kids got kidnapped, and it's unfortunate, right? Those bad things happen.
Been going on a long time.
And more often they did not. More often they were playing on the streets. More often they learned how to socialize. More often they socialized with every person, every culture, every color, every religion, everything.
Yeah.
Right? We went to the same school and we all said Pledge of Allegiance to the same flag every day, standing next to all shapes and colors of people.
That's
and
right.
being taught how all of us are equal.
That's right.
And now you're growing up in a culture where it's not being taught that. It's being taught who to hate, who to be angry with.
Take away history.
Take away, oh my God.
We don't want you to remember that.
You don't be educated.
Don't be educated.
Don't be educated.
You don't be educated.
No matter,
You
no,
know?
don't.
So I mean, this is something that's going on so blatant that is unbelievable that the masses haven't stood up and rised up on it. But here's my thing. It's like
The masses are afraid.
well, the thing about it is, what are you afraid of? See, there's only two things to this thing. It's called life and death. It's two things. But then when you let tyrants take over, you let corporate America dominate, you know, you let all these people just take over because they're looking at you like you ain't nothing. And you know, when you have a chance to because I'm gonna tell you, I look at it like this. I've been to Barnacle Bay. That means the low of lows, okay? And I've been to the penthouse. So that means I've been hanging out with some power players in this country. One of the things that I talk to some people about is, and I always go on this theme of loneliness. And the reason I'm going there is this. See, when you have done things in your life, like for me, I had a lot of applause when I was young. People, would applaud. They would look at me, recognize, oh man, he's doing great things, blah, blah, blah. And I remember life was wonderful.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it got silent. It got real silent. Those people that were like, yeah, Rick, blah, 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 and all these boom, nobody was there. You see, and people don't understand this too with former athletes. They have to go through that dynamic.
Yeah.
See, that's why going to therapy, being able to express yourself, cleanse yourself, and truly understand this is what I want to do. Okay, not go here to bullshit, not go here to play around.
Trying to make myself look good.
All this kind of stuff,
And the therapist sitting across from you, this is the other aspect, that there has to be two truths, right?
Okay.
When you walk into the therapist's office, you have to understand that you have a space to talk. You have to start getting comfortable feeling to let go. And the therapist has to call you out on things that are unhealthy. And you have to be willing to hear that.
Okay.
So there's a bit of conflict that occurs in therapy sessions.
Sure, yep.
And there has to be. And
Yep.
the therapist has to be trained, has to start getting comfortable with being that person that says, not okay.
Right.
Which we have struggled with a lot of clinicians
Okay.
that are constantly like, oh, it's you got to do what you got to do.
No, okay.
No.
Put the breakdown.
If that person is unhealthy, doing something that's not working for the whole of society, that's the other thing. It is for the person, and that person exists in society. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make it makes good sense.
Yeah. We have 3 minutes. My dad's calling me. That's what that is. I have two people that go through silent mode, my mom and my dad.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I hope anyway.
I know.
Yeah. But yeah, Lily, this thing was beautiful today. I really had a ball here, a blast.
Thank you
being
so
able
much
to
for
talk
coming,
and
Ricky.
express. And like I said, I wanted this message to get through to anybody that's going through a sense of loneliness, a sense of like, man, where is the world? Where are people? There are some people. And you have to make sure that you value your own self.
Yes.
Because you are valuable.
Yes.
I'm valuable. Okay.
Yes.
And with that, if you can find help, go find it.
Yeah.
And don't be
two
shy.
Things. One, we have to get comfortable coexisting with everybody else. We coexist. We're not surviving. They've created a world where you're surviving against everybody else. Right. You're not surviving. You're coexisting.
Okay.
You're coexisting with everybody else. So go out, make eye contact, have a conversation. Some person might be in a bad mood. The next person will have a conversation with you.
Right.
Talk. Don't judge. Don't assume things about people. Talk. The second thing, go ask for help and learn about yourself. Get to know yourself and get to understand the things that don't work within you, that you don't even realize that they're second nature all the time. Go and get to know yourself. Talk to somebody else in a private room as well. Both of those together, you'll start actually feeling less and less lonely in time. And that's the goal. Thank you, Ricky, for coming and visiting me.